What's up, everybody? HOA MMA is back. We took a little 2-week hiatus. AJ, how are you feeling this week, man? We had a couple big weeks in MMA, but we had some trouble linking up for recording. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Just keeping myself busy. Still trying to recover. I've got like that little injury been
Yeah,
going on for a while, but been good. Not much has happened. I saw John Wick 4, which
yes.
we've
Oh my
already
God.
spoken about. One of the all-time great action movies ever. Apart from that, just spending time with family. We got Good Friday coming up, so yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously
Um,
Easter.
did you mention you had started going back and training a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. So I've done like a bit of just like training and stuff like this week, but
Yeah,
still kind of seeing where my foot is. But
totally understand. You
decent,
got to be careful with those feet, man. Got to be careful with the feet.
exactly.
And then John Wick 4. Oh my God. Woo. You know what the best thing about John Wick right now is we could keep turning these movies out because they've created the high table, which is such a good idea, like a good concept of like a villain in these movies.
Yeah,
Obviously, everybody's an assassin, so they're kind of a villain, but you can keep reaching and reaching, and you might not ever reach the high table, but you can keep stringing along that you're taking out members of the high table. So
yeah,
I just think John Wick's done such a great job building. They overwhelmed us with awesome action, and now they're slipping in good story pieces as they've gone along, and
yeah.
that's really helped the franchise at this point.
And I will say this: Donnie Yen is every bit worth your time. He was absolutely just sick. I mean, if you're a fan of like Ip Man or IP Man,
Oh
depending
yeah,
how you want to pronounce it, you can just watch it just for him alone, let alone seeing like Wick and Keanu doing his thing. Because yeah, greatness, man.
it's worth going to the theater. It's worth doing the whole experience. Um, this isn't really a spoiler, but his little like stab move when he kills somebody, like real fast with
Yeah,
his sword, is hilarious. He just plays such a fantastic role in that movie. Everybody just nails it. It's really hard to nitpick that movie at all. Um,
exactly.
Other than that, we've just been busy, man. I've just been busy. A lot going on. It's getting warmer here. We've had a lot of rain, so
Same
a
here,
lot of
bro.
shitty weather. I mean, let's touch on. We had Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. The trilogy is over. Uh, Leon put the stamp on it. He got the win over Usman. How do you feel? That's your guy, Leon Edwards. Tell us how you feel. How did you feel in the moment when he got the win? Give us a little bit of background on the Leon win for you.
Well, it's interesting for me watching it because I went out to watch it live, as you knew, at the time. But it was interesting because I was watching it in like a bar. They didn't have any commentary on. There was music playing. There was a DJ in the background. So it was really interesting watching it without any commentary, where like you're just focusing on the actual fight itself, which is something that's brand new for me.
Mhm.
It felt a lot closer watching it like first time, because obviously Usman was also getting like like takedowns in. He was putting pressure on obviously Leon, but he wasn't really doing much like with
Yeah,
it. Whereas Leon did a very much like kick heavy game with like obviously like body kicks and obviously like calf kicks and stuff, and was obviously start stuffing down a lot of takedowns. But I
hmm
think the key thing for him this time was then whenever Usman did obviously take him down, he wasn't down there for long. He was getting back up this time, and I feel like that was like the biggest difference. And I watched it again, and I felt Leon won 4 rounds to 1. I felt like he kind of like nullified him very, very well,
yeah.
and I feel and I don't know, maybe like this is just me, but this is the first time Usman was starting to show that he's getting up there in age a bit. Still obviously elite, still one of obviously the best fighters that I've ever seen. But it was kind of the first time where like he didn't have the same intensity. He didn't like it
Yeah.
wasn't a case of whenever he used to get people down, they would like it was a takedown and that was it. Like he had you down there. So, but good win for Leo, man.
Oh
Like great
man,
win.
fantastic. I didn't have the opportunity to watch it back. I did watch the final round, and that was close. So it really does depend on how you scored it. I do want to give Leon a absolute ton of credit. And when he was in those situations with Usman where he was fighting the takedown, or he even, kind of got down, the time of control and the control that Usman had in the second fight was night and day difference. Leon did a fantastic job minimizing the control, minimizing his time on the ground. You could see his energy was much different throughout the fight. I know he mentioned that the altitude played a factor in that, very possible, but you could just see that he was so much more prepared this time for Usman's game. Yeah. And without Usman having that, without Usman having that like spark that he's had, before, Leon was able to maintain. And I had it 3-2. If you gave it 4-1, I can't really complain. I thought Leon won the fight. I guess my next question would be, where do you see Usman going next? There's been some rumors swirling that it might be Rakhmonov, it might be Muhammad. Where do you see him going next?
I feel like he's probably going to take a lot of time off. Mm-hmm. I would say he's probably going to fight probably next year. I don't see him fighting again anytime this year. So I kind of feel like, now there is everyone else who fights at like 170 is going to feel like, okay, we have like the long dominant champion. He's finally like he isn't going to get a touch shot anytime soon, especially after losing twice. So I kind of feel like we're going to see all these other contenders kind of like fight against each other, and then obviously where we see things lie in about a year's time, that's when Usman's going to be like, okay, I've taken like a year out. I'm going to let like my body heal, because we know that he has problems with like his knees and stuff, and he's getting older. And there isn't really a rush for him to come back and fight. Like, if we're obviously being honest, because even if he was to fight again, he's probably gonna have to string 2, maybe 3 wins before he gets another title shot. As long as Leon is obviously still like the champ. So I'm probably gonna say we probably won't see him fight until next year. And who knows who obviously that could be against.
Okay, let me spin this for you then. While I would understand completely if he took the time and regathered, would you feel better if he was like, I want to come back in 4 months. I didn't get knocked out. I did get beat, but I want to get right back in there and I want to get back on the horse. Would you feel better about where he's at mentally if he did that, or would you want him to take the time off? Because that's 2 different methods of thought. If, hey, I'm ready to get back in there. How would you feel if he came back in 4 months and it's like, hey, I got to right this wrong. I'm going back through the contenders to get back to Leon.
I wouldn't mind it at all, but it just be depending on obviously who he faces. Mm-hmm. It depends on the actual opponent. If he fought against Belal, I think he matches up well against Belal, because Belal's very grappling heavy, and I believe even though Usman didn't look that good against Leon, he's still better grappler than him. And Belal, and even though Belal got the Tico finish against obviously Sean Brady isn't really a good striker, and you would imagine that Usman has a decent enough kickboxing to obviously negate that, and he wouldn't let Belal back him up, because we've seen Usman go toe to toe with obviously Colby over 2 fights now, kept up with that pace from obviously like the get go. The only fighter I wouldn't want him, if I was in Usman's team, the one guy I would avoid is literally Shafkat.
Oh yeah, no, that is
literally the only guy I would want to avoid. And obviously, him being a champion, he'll probably fight anyone, but that's probably the most dangerous opponent for him to come back after 4 months' time, because that guy's mean. Like, it's as simple as that. That guy's mean, and he's so good everywhere. And even though Usman is his all-time great, he's lost 2 fights in a row, and as we can see clearly, we've seen this all the time, losing becomes a habit very, very quickly, and you have to be very careful with
that. We talked about Usman now. Let's talk about the champ. It's been made very clear by Dana White. Colby is getting the next title fight. It's probably going to happen in July or August from the things we've been seeing and reading.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I completely understand where everybody's at with Colby not fighting, staying inactive, and getting title shots. But he is, all things considered, he is probably one of the best 170 pounders we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I know if I don't know if he can beat Leon? I don't. This Leon is a different level. I I think he could have success against Leon, but Leon's gonna do a very good job against Colby on the feet. It's going to be very similar to Usman. Can Colby get Leon down? Can he have the control? Can he keep him down? It's a very similar fight. I I know where you stand on Colby, but let us know. Leon versus Colby. I think that fight sells either way. Colby is a draw, no matter how we shake it. That's a big time fight.
Cool. Well, I'm just going to say it now. I don't feel like there isn't a true #1 contender right now. And out of anyone, you already know this, I don't feel obviously Colby like deserves it.
Yeah.
Like winning against Masvidal, who is currently ranked 11th, doesn't move me to say you deserve a title shot. Even when a lot of people say, Bilal's on a 7-fight win streak, but beating someone who isn't in the top 5 when he fought against Sean Brady doesn't move me either, even though he's on this really good win streak, even though one of the fights was obviously a no contest against the champ. Yeah. Obviously, just on that side, if we're talking about just the matchup, Colby Covington has great cardio and he sets a good pace. And my main thing with that matchup is that he isn't obviously a good wrestler compared to Usman. We see how obviously Leon dealt with that, and also, which is very key, Colby's striking isn't that great if you're talking about like technical kickboxing.
Yeah,
like for me, Usman is way better than him. So the way I see it, and Colby doesn't have that much submission threats. Like he will obviously take you down, but he's mainly kind of like, I want to like grind you out. I'll attack the body, attack the head, kind of like ground and pound kind of thing. He doesn't really go for like arm bars or like obviously rear naked chokes. Like he doesn't have that much of a
submission ground game is not great.
It's not great.
Yeah.
So personally, for me, Leon will most likely keep it on the feet, and if he does, he's really gonna embarrass Colby.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna turn around and say like he's gonna knock him out cold, because he's only been knocked out once, which was by TKO. But I do feel like Leon would run rings around him on the feet, and he's more than capable to keep it on the feet.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I'm with that. If it stays standing, Colby's got a long night ahead of him. He's just got to get that pressure, and he's got to get to the legs, and he's got to maintain. And it's crazy how some of these championship fights could be so simple.
Yeah.
It's do this or do that, and you're the champion. But with how talented these guys, it's insane that it comes down to these little aspects of the game. Let's transition to another guy that we've both been fans of for a long time. This fight we were big fans of. Cory Sandhagen takes out Chito Vera, and the scorecards were a little questionable in my opinion.
Very questionable.
Cory still got out of there with the win, so I'm good with that. But what are we doing here? There was no reason for Chito to be. There was no reason for that.
That was a 50-45.
Oh, he was
clearly
incredible how good Cory Sandhagen is. It's insane.
I know we were expecting this to be like this crazy, Chito, the more chaotic power puncher against like the technical skills of Cory on the feet, but Cory Sandhagen can say, like, this isn't going to be like a kickboxing fight. We're going to do MMA. And he showed his full arsenal, and he took him to school. And I feel like Chito kind of like he's been suffering from his own from his own success recently. Because even if you look against the fight against Cruz, right? Like Dominic Cruz was actually winning the fight. He was working him. He was outworking him until he got caught.
Yes.
And it was kind of like the same thing here. And I feel like and you think about against Cruz and against Edgar, older people, he's obviously caught them late. He caught Cruz in round 4 and he caught Edgar in round 3. He caught them late and he obviously he's obviously gone and knocked him out. He was probably thinking, yeah, I can probably take my time. I can just, like let obviously Cory like obviously show me something and obviously make reads. But you're not faced against someone who's obviously towards the end of their of the time. Cory is literally in his prime, and Cory's fucking good. And Cory said, "Okay, if you're going to give me 2 rounds up, I can do this all night, and I can move around, and I can avoid your hits, and I can avoid, you waiting for that basic one shot." And Cory mixing takedowns, and Chito probably wasn't even ready for that.
No, dude.
But it was just
such a display, dude.
Such a clinic, bro. Such a clinic. Like we thought this was going to be back and forth, but Cory made it easy.
He made it easy. And that's what's awesome is like when you get these guys, everybody respects Cory Sandhagen, but you get to see the level of some of these guys in comparison. Yeah. Chito's a hell of a fighter, but you can see there is a level that Chito has not gotten to yet in comparison to Cory Sandhagen. Let's touch on Cory a little bit more. Cory is 2-2 in his last 4. His 2 losses are to TJ Dillashaw, Peter Yan. He beat Yadong Song, and he's beat Marlon Vera. 4 just straight murderers.
And for me, he beat
TJ Dillashaw. He beat TJ.
He beat TJ.
He should be 3-1 in his last 4. I don't know how TJ got away with that, but Cory's in a good spot. Who would you like to see Cory get next? We know he made a great call out. Do you see him versus Merab next? Because that could be insane.
That's the fight.
I'm pumped just thinking about it already, dude.
That's the fight. That is literally the fight because we all know we always got Aldo against obviously Henry next. And we all know that the next one for the belt is going to be Jigoshon. We all know that. Like, it's not going to be like a secret or like anything at this point. So, and considering obviously Merab isn't going to fight the current champ, that is the fight. That is the fight. And that is the definition of styles make fights because it's, because obviously Cory is a big bantamweight. He's very long. He's very big, like, for it. And it's a case of can actually Merab take him down? And obviously on the actual flip side, can Cory keep it standing? Because we know if it plays out on the feet, Cory has so many arsenals to keep him at bay, but Merab is an absolute machine. Like, he took down Yan 70. He's like, he over 5 rounds or 3 rounds, he will shoot for 50 takedowns if he has to. Like he will literally keep going. So
I'm worried about that, dude. I'm worried about that happening to Cory also. I'm like, what happened to Yan? Like, if Cory starts to fall behind, it could happen again. We could see Merab do that.
Yeah.
I hope Cory's length and his size can keep that a little more at bay. That fight is exciting as hell. I do have a question for you. We have a big fight this weekend. We're going to touch on it. We're going to pick winners later. We've got Rob Font and
Adrian
Yanez are fighting. Do you want to see the winner of that fight Yan next, Peter? Does that make sense to you?
I think Chito against Yan makes sense for both because obviously they're both lost.
You want Chito versus Yan? Yeah, that's a big time fight right there. I like that. Yeah. I didn't know what you thought if Rob and Yanez would go into that next one, but I like that. Yeah. I like Chito versus Yan. We touched on the big fights the last couple weeks. Let's go into this. Francis Ngannou, a guy we both are hell of an entertaining fighter. We wish he was still with the UFC. We know how some of that money goes. Is it coming to a head now that he's pricing himself out of organizations, because he's negotiated with and talked to 4 different organizations now, and bare knuckle come out and said, we can't be in the Francis Ngannou business for that much money. This is a company that gave, why am I drawing a blank? The blonde chick.
Oh, Paige Van Zandt.
They gave her $1 million. Like, so when you say you're out of the Francis Ngannou business and you gave Paige $1 million, what does that say? Like, what's going on here, man? How much money is he asking for? Is he doing too much in terms of what he's asking for?
I think in terms of coming back to MMA, yes, absolutely. The only thing with him is, like, he's made it clear that, you know, he wanted to box. Like, he can't, like, before he got into MMA, he actually wanted to be a boxer, and that's like his dream of his. The only thing is that he only has, obviously, like, for one, he isn't Conor. It's not like Conor when he was like, I want to go and box Floyd. Like, Conor was this megastar, this big marketing machine where around for a time, a lot of people thought that, oh, like, you know, Floyd's getting up there. If Conor lands a left, he might win. Anyone that had, obviously, a brain knew that wasn't ever going to happen anyway. But I kind of feel like Francis is overvaluing himself. And with this whole boxing thing, he literally only has one chance. And we all know this now. He's probably not going to fight Fury. So there's only 2 other boxers that he can fight against. It's Wilder, which would make a lot of sense, and AJ. Even though AJ in his last boxing fight last week looked absolutely awful, but that's obviously something else entirely. I understand that Francis wanted, obviously, you know, he had principles where, you know, that when he was negotiating, it's like, okay, I want, you know, like, rights for like the fighters, you know, I want all of these things, which is obviously very what you call it, commendable. But he's priced himself out because I don't feel like he understands that at the end of the day, this is a business. You know, certain fighters will get paid X amount because they will sell. And as much as Francis is this wrecking machine, and, you know, he could be marketed in a really really good way, but I feel like he's kind of realized a lot with a lot of MMA fighters once they also leave, once they leave the UFC, it's not the same. It's not the same on your own, and I have a bad feeling that he's probably going to look back in this and feel like, you know what, I probably made a mistake, because, you know what, really and truly, last month we could have seen him against John Jones.
Yep.
And
that would have probably made him $3 million, probably, or something crazy.
Exactly.
Probably, yeah. Sat on that by asking for a number. Like, we know Dana's kind of an asshole, but when Dana comes out and says all that, and he looked like an asshole when he said it, but it kind of looks like some of it might have been true now. Not all of it, obviously. I want better fighter pay too. I have no issues with that, but the individual number must have been a lot. It really had to have been a lot, because Jones and him would have sold pay-per-views. He would have made 7 figures for sure.
That would have been the biggest fight of the year outside of Conor McGregor. Easy.
Yeah, I agree.
Easy.
So you mentioned the boxing. Here's the thing. The longer this drags on, the less people are going to care. So what are we doing with the boxing? Fight. Like, here's this. Now, this is not necessarily the most financial savvy thing. I would have just fought somebody that he's maybe had some, a stint in the heavyweight title. Fight him. If you knock him out, that builds your steam. If you don't fight Fury, if you don't fight Wilder, if you don't fight one of the heavyweights that people care about, why does it matter anyway?
No, because we all know that if he fights against any elite boxer, heavyweight boxer, he will lose, and he will lose bad. So it's it's literally like a one chance. Like, he has to fight. He has to fight either Wilder, Fury, maybe and I'm talking about at this point maybe probably AJ. Those are the three people. That's
but those
it.
guys are going to kill him too, though.
Exactly. But like, if he turns around and fights someone who's in ranked like 9 or ranked 5, and he loses, and he will lose bad because there is a big skill level.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like with the hype and build up and mystique around him goes. So when it comes to the boxing thing, it's literally like you have literally one chance. And again, like you said, like the longer this goes on, people are not going to care because obviously out of sight and out of mind.
Yeah, it's not going well for him.
Not at all, man. It's sad.
He made a mistake. I think I think it was a mistake when he left right away. I still think it's a mistake now. He's got to get a fight somewhere to keep his name out there. He's got to do it. If he, like you said, it's got to be one of those big 3 in boxing, and it's just not happened. Enough about Francis. We did have some big news in the combat / sports entertainment realm. UFC's parent company, Endeavor, bought the WWE for $9 billion.
Crazy.
Holy shit.
Crazy.
That's an absurd. Like, I've watched wrestling for my entire life now, and I never really grasped just how large wrestling really is until I got a little bit older, and still $9 billion just blows my mind. Like, what an insane payday for Vince McMahon, the whole family. It's just crazy. So
he invested $1 million into it.
Yeah.
And that's what you call a crazy return on your initial investment. That is
You can never say that Vince McMahon is not an absolute genius businessman. Like, you can never say, like, his shows may take a hit, some of that other stuff may take a hit, but that man is about dollars, and it has always been about dollars.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is, do you think now we get a package deal with the UFC and WWE, like you know how they, like, ESPN Plus is an example, but do you think we get a platform where we can get both?
Eventually, yes. I feel like we probably won't see the effects of it anytime soon because because obviously UFC have their deals with obviously ESPN and Fight Pass. But I feel with display, probably 4, 5, maybe 6 years, like very, very much down, basically, probably down like the line. We're probably going to see when obviously Endeavor is going to be very much in-house in terms of like how they handle streaming and obviously production as well. Because if you think about it, and especially for like us two, right? Like growing up, our first kind of idea of combat was probably wrestling, right? Like we grew up watching wrestling. Like before we watched any kind of mixed martial arts or boxing or whatever, when you're like 8, 9, 10, you're gonna watch wrestling because it's fun and it's obviously entertainment. Whereas now, and obviously Endeavor have the UFC and WWE, which are 2 of the biggest sports and entertainment entities out there. You're going to have like a generation of people where, you know, like families going to watch WWE together. And obviously as they grow up and as they get older, when you're going to watch something a bit more violent, you're going to transition slowly into watching the UFC, you know. So obviously long term, that obviously sounds like an amazing plan. So I would probably say we probably won't see it like straight away, but eventually we'll probably go towards that kind of like model. But the key thing as well, this gives UFC fighters a big opportunity because obviously now they can cross over into the WWE world and now do massive for their brands. Massive. Like it's going to put like exposure out there, and obviously they're like, it's going to give much opportunities. Like you can see people like Izzy, people like Sean O'Malley, people like Connor, people like Paddy even, who obviously fit that kind of like mic talk charisma kind of thing. they're going to branch into that. And other fighters, when they're obviously starting up thinking, do you know what? I have opportunity here. Like to obviously boost my career and create opportunities, and there'll be so many different lanes for them to go through. So it's an amazing pickup for them. And but I would say that's more long term. We probably won't feel the effects of it until once things really settle in. But great move.
Oh yeah,
great move.
Absolutely a home run in terms of business. I will be interested to see where things go in terms of partnerships. You know, more promoting between both, possible joint ventures. There's just so many different avenues you can explore now with them both under the same company. Thoughts on Ariel Helwani and Dana White once again working together to an extent? The rivalry. Does that rivalry reach the ring now?
My money's on Dana, I can't lie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But yeah, big news in the business world. And you got to think, WWE was here, like it's been here long before the UFC even start. Like we've watched UFC grow up, and we've watched WWE change and grow themselves. So it's really interesting to have them both together now. Let's get out of the business world. We have a massive pay-per-view this weekend. UFC 287. What are your initial thoughts before we get into the cards and get to the breakdown?
Great card. Like I really don't want to say the word casual, but like if you just love hands, like in the best way possible, if you're gonna just look at the main card on its own, this is very much a friendly for literally like anyone. Like if you have friends like who've been trying to like get into MMA to watch for like the first time, this is one of these cards you need to bring them on, because it's pretty much going to be action packed. It's pretty much going to be standing on the feet. It's going to be very fan friendly, and it has fun matchups. Very fun matchups.
Jam packed with just badass fighters. Let's touch on a little something outside the ring before we get into it. Kevin Holland and George Masvidal getting into it at the hotel. What's going on there, man? What is going on? Kevin Holland just seems to be a lightning rod for just interaction.
He's basically Batman. He's always involved in something. He's basically Batman at this point. I feel like whenever you see Kevin Holland and it's like a pay-per-view, just expect by around Tuesday or fight week that basically some shit's happened.
Yeah.
In like a hotel or outside. It's pretty much what
he does. He is good for a form of an altercation at any fight.
Yeah. And literally of any time, anywhere. That's still my guy though.
Oh, dude, I still love the guy. He will fight anybody. He doesn't care. I will always have that guy's back. Let's get into the preliminary card. We had a little change here. Chris Barnett is out. Carl Williams, who we saw fight less than a month ago now, I believe it is. He's stepping in to fight Chase Sherman. Carl Williams, dude, I like that guy a lot. We saw some footage of him training with DC recently. I'm a fan of Carl Williams. I'm going to personally pick Carl Williams. I don't know a ton about Sherman, but I like Carl Williams and I like his potential going forward. How do you feel about the first fight of the preliminaries?
I'm first sad that obviously Chris Barnett ain't gonna be fighting because he's always fun.
Why couldn't we get Carl Williams versus him? That's the fight I want to see. Those two monsters.
That would have been a much more like fun fight because Chase Herman is kind of tailored for obviously Beast Boy, because if you just look at Beast Boy's like skill set, it's very much tailored for him to have like another like viral moment, you know.
Oh, it's set up for him to get a knockout for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, Carl Williams, I haven't watched a lot of, but I do actually like him from what I have seen of him, and the fact that he fought recently means he's going to be sharp and basically active. Like there is not going to it's going to be quite basically like tuned in. So I would probably, I'm definitely going to lean towards him. And you know, I feel like it's very hard whenever like you're the one who's obviously booked and your opponent changes like last like minute.
Yeah, it's tough.
So yeah, I'm on basically that alone. I'm probably going to go more towards Carl.
Totally agree on that. Jumping up to the next one, we got Gerald Mearshart versus Joe Pyfer. Pyfer 10-2. Also, obviously, Mearshart, veteran of the sport. He's fought 50 times. How do you see that one shaking out?
Joe Pyfer, I don't know a lot of, so based on for what I know, I'm probably gonna lean towards Mearshart, probably getting another like stuff. But like I said, I'm gonna be more than welcome to be wrong if Joe Pyfer turns out and just smokes it, because Mearshart's very hot and cold. Either he will obviously fight well, or he'll just get run over. So
yeah. I'm gonna go with Pyfer. He's kind of an up and coming guy. Obviously, the 10-2 record's nice. Last time he fought was on the card with Sandhagen and Song Yadong. So obviously ready to get back in there. He's got some tools. Which Gerald is going to show up? Like you said, we've got this version that, hey, this guy can beat. He's a solid fighter in the division, or this guy's going to get ran over. Which version shows up? I'm going to give the edge to the younger guy in Pyfer. Should be a fun fight no matter what, though. Those two guys should be fun. Next fight, Michelle Waterson versus Pinheiro. Waterson, for as much as people like her, she is a very, very average fighter. It's just the facts, unfortunately. How do you see this one shaking out? Pinheiro she's dangerous. I like the way she fights.
She's nice. She is nice. Like, she's really good. Watson is being fed. It's as simple as that, because if you're gonna look in terms of basically matchups, Watson is probably gonna get taken down, and once she does, it's gonna be a long night. Yeah. It's gonna be a very, very long night.
And this gives Pinheiro a name that she's beaten. That's part of it. Also, get that veteran name. So yeah, I'm going Pinheiro. Also, I think it's a long night for Waterson. I think if she retired after this fight, I wouldn't be surprised. She is 37 now. She's got a family. She's got kids. So if she does get dominated, I would not be surprised if she put the gloves down and walked away.
For sure.
Next fight is the headliner of the preliminary card. We got Chris Curtis versus Kevin Gastelum. Gastelum's a guy we have a lot of respect for. Chris Curtis, he's fought a lot, and he's really gaining some steam now. How do you see this one shaking out?
Chris Curtis is good, but whenever he fights against, like, whenever he goes up in like comp, he kind of gets found out.
Yeah.
Because we saw in London last year against obviously Joker. Joker pieced him up on the feet, like, which was actually surprising. Even though he looked good against Brendan Allen, which is a win that's kind of aged well, and he knocked out Buckley in his last fight. But then we all know Buckley's pretty much, he's really like a welterweight. He's just super jacked. But in terms of his size, he's not suited to be fighting at 185. Kelvin is this isn't the same Kelvin that basically fought Izzy 4 or 5 years ago. It isn't, like, and let's just be real here. But Kelvin's still good, and I do feel like he has a more well-rounded game. The only thing is, I feel like he's probably gonna want to stand there and obviously trade with him. But the only thing is that I literally just don't see Curtis knocking Kelvin up, because Kelvin's got such a massive blockhead. Like, Like from when basically Izzy couldn't knock him out, from when Rob is hitting that little 1-2 head kick combo and doesn't even drop him, that kind of shows that it's really hard to put him away. So I'm gonna give Kelvin to edge it.
Okay.
Just about.
I don't know why I want to say. I'm just gonna pick Curtis. I don't have a great reason. I just think that Kelvin is so Jekyll and Hyde on what version of him shows up. And I think that inconsistency's really hurt him in his career. It's either it's his weight or the performance or an injury or something. It's always something with Kelvin Gastelum. He had that one shot at fame against Izzy, or not fame, you know what I mean, but that one shining moment against Izzy, and he just didn't happen. And I feel like ever since it's just been kind of not even like a roller coaster. It's just kind of a bump in the road every now and then. I do feel like Curtis is picking up some steam. I'm going to give him the nod in the main event of the preliminary card. Jumping up, we've got the young phenom, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. When I was 18 years old, I don't know if I talked as much as Rosas Jr. does. He is all aboard his own train, and I get it. You're a phenomenal fighter, but man, he talks a lot.
Yeah, to kind of imagine him being the champion in that division in 2 years' time, that is a bold statement to say.
Oh man,
that is a bold statement to say. But hey, I mean, if I'm obviously 18 years old and I'm 7-0 and I'm fighting in the UFC on a pay-per-view, I'm probably going to feel that confident myself. So, I'm not obviously going to like judge him for that. I do. This is definitely his most toughest opponent yet. His opponent has only lost once, and also, I kind of feel like we need to see how good he is on the feet. Because obviously so far from what the fights we've seen of him, he literally takes people down and he's quick to get the subs. He's quick to grapple and obviously choke people out and put people away. He's only had one. I actually saw there was actually like a thread of his fights so far on Twitter, and I was having a look at it, and he's only had one actual TKO finish. It was kind of pounding. His strikes were kind of like wild. So. And Rodriguez is a good grappler, so I feel like if he's able to obviously keep on the kind of just like test him and see, he can maybe push him a little bit. But I do have a feeling that young Raul is probably going to make a statement and probably get a second round sub.
I'm going to pick him also, but Rodriguez is no pushover, and I think
definitely not.
I just don't want it to come off like this guy's nobody. He's also building his career in the same way. But Raul, I mean, Rodriguez is only 25 years old. It's not like he's over the hill or anything. I'm going to give it to Rosas Jr. also. He's just got it going right now. I don't know. I'm going to say he's going to submit Rodriguez in either late in the first, early in the second. Next is our guy, Kevin Holland versus Ponzinibbio. This should be a lot of fun, no matter how it goes. Somebody very well could end up on the mat, knocked out. These guys are going to throw a lot. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, Kevin Holland is obviously one of my favorite fighters to watch, as obviously and this is going to be a fun fight. This is going to be on the feet, but I have a feeling that Holland may put Pons out early, only because if you obviously knows in his last fight he won against Alex Morono. But he was losing that fight, and to be fair, Morono was piecing him out last minute because obviously he was meant to finish against Robbie Lawler, and Morono just obviously stepped in last minute. Until very late in that third, it was all Alex Morono. Like Alex Morono was kind of beating him up a little bit, like he was getting pieced up, and And obviously Santiago a couple of years ago was looking like he was going to be like, he was going to like fight for the belt one day, and he had that long layoff. And he's been very hot and cold. I think in his last 5, I think he's 2-3. And
he lost to
the Leech.
He lost to Michael Pereira, and then he lost to Jeff Neal. No, so he's 1-2 in his last 3. Yeah. He lost to Neal. He lost to Neal, and then he lost to Pereira, and then he beat Morano.
Yeah, like very, very last minute because he was just getting beaten up on. And Kevin Holland is a good striker. I think some people are kind of forgetting, even though what Wonder Boy put a beating on him. 1, he had a broken hand, and 2, it's fucking Wonder Boy. Like if the fight's gonna be on the feet, 99% of the time, Wonder Boy is probably gonna beat the shit out of someone.
Yeah,
and it wasn't as if Holland got knocked out. Like he was on his corner, and his corner was like no more because he was just fucked. Like
his hand. Remember he broke his hand.
Yeah, he broke his hand, and Wonder Boy smelled blood and was teeing off on. Just basically off on him.
It was just a massive difference after he broke his hand in the fight. You can see the difference. That's not taking away from anything from Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy could have beat him with a fine hand.
Yeah.
It just, you could see that Holland was having trouble without being able to use that overhand right.
Yeah. And obviously considering Holland's actually bigger than him, and especially ever since moving down, he carries a lot more. Even though when he was fighting at middleweight, he was still knocking people out. He had a lot of power. The fact that he's moved down, he's still carrying that power, and he's quite long. I do feel like Holland's probably going to catch him. So
he has an 8-inch reach advantage in this one,
which is crazy. So I've got Kevin Holland first round.
Ooh, first round, I like it. Even if I don't think Kevin Holland's going to win, I'm going to say Kevin Holland's going to win. It's just something about that guy. I'm just always going to rock with him. Ponzinibbio is a hell of a fighter. He is a hell of a fighter. I just want Holland to win, guys. It's a personal. I'm a fan of the guy. I just want him to win, so I'm going to pick him to win so I don't put that bad energy out there. I think he's got the reach advantage. I think he can touch him, and we've seen when Holland can touch you, he can put you down, and that's what he does best. And Ponzinibbio is going to play into that, and one of those guys is going to end up on the mat, in my opinion, but I hope it's Holland with his hand raised. So I'm going to give slight edge to Holland in that one. Next is another fight at bantamweight is Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. This is really, really big time. This is an important fight for both guys in the division. Yanez was talking about getting right up to maybe a title shot if he wins this one. Some of these guys have some crazy, crazy goals, or not goals, but crazy like expectations. I like Rob Font. I've always been a Rob Font fan. Yanez is a badass dude. How do you see this one shaking out?
I'm a big Yanez fan. I'm very. I am a big fan of him. Like, really, really good boxing. Like, his boxing is so crisp. And like, personally for me, I feel like this fight is going to be, the fight of the night. It kind of just has that kind of feel to it. I know that obviously recently as well, we've seen a lot of up and comers fighting against, ranked veterans, recently with Casey Neal against Jennifer Maia, Faceve against obviously Gaethje. And in both those fights, the vets have kind of showed them, do you know what, I'm basically here for a reason. I'm not going to be like a gatekeeper. I'm not here to obviously lie down. And they've obviously risen up to this. Even though Rob Font is on a losing skid, he's still dangerous. His boxing is just as good, and he is a serious fighter. He can throw a lot. He can throw a lot of volume, but I do feel like Adrian is actually like the real deal. He's really good. In all of his fights so far in the UFC, all bonuses. And a lot of people do kind of focus on Yanez's boxing a lot, but don't always forget he can he his kicks as well. Like he landed a mean head kick KO one of his fights like a couple of fights ago. So I do personally feel like Rob Font needs to utilize a bit more wrestling and just kind of just like test that, just to go and like, you know, offset his Giannis's like rhythm and stuff. But I do feel like Giannis is probably going to make a statement and show, yeah, do you know what, I'm here. And if he does, to jump from rank 12 to rank 6 or 5, huge. That's going to shake up a lot.
It's a big. Like I said, it is an important fight for the standings. Like the rankings are very important in this fight. I just do want to give Rob Font a little bit of credit. His last 2 fights were 5-round decisions to Chito Vera and to Jose Aldo. Just to be fair, those are 2 fantastic fighters.
Best of the best, you know.
Rob's 35. This could be the last go. I'm gonna go with Rob to pull the upset. It's gonna be a barn burner either way. Can he check the leg kicks? Can he? Rob's got great hands, but he's got to get them on you. Can he get Yanez close? Can he keep him close? Can he use that reach to keep the leg kicks at a minimum? This should be a hell of a fight. Like you said, potentially fight of the night if these guys really get going. I'm going to take Rob Font in an upset. Next fight is the co-main event. Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. We are both going to pick the same person in this fight. And if this person loses this fight, I'm going to be shocked. But go ahead and tell me how it shakes out.
I mean, if this was 2019, I'm going to pick Jorge. I probably would have picked Jorge, but 2019 is a long, long time ago. Jorge is 38 years of age. I understand it is obviously in Miami, which is basically like his home and where he is a king there. But Dorino Burns is a fucking savage.
Whew.
He is a fucking savage, and it could get ugly. It could get ugly out there.
It should get ugly out there. It really should.
It should get ugly out there. Because the funny thing is, even if it does stay on the feet, Burns can crack. Burns, like if you want to stand in front of obviously Gilbert Burns, you gotta be careful, because if he lands on you, he will hurt you.
Yeah, no, it's.
Well, I have a feeling that George is probably going to take a nap.
Okay, here's the thing, Jorge. I'll call him Jorge for this one because we're in Miami. He's going to have to come out with something crazy, absolutely crazy, like he did against Ben, and it's got to be wild, or else he's going to get pummeled. He's going to get pummeled. Burns is too good at all facets of the game for anything to work other than a crazy shot, or it's got to be a knockout shot. It's got to be something wild. I don't know what else he could have in his bag, but he has to know going into this, it's got to be a knockout.
And if you kind of look at Gilbert Burns recently, his only losses recently has been against Usman, when obviously Usman was obviously the champ, and Hamdat, who we know who is just a beast. He's just a freak of nature.
He's literally a freak of nature at this point. He's just he's not like other human beings. He's just a different. Yeah. And Burns was in that fight. Like Burns was right there.
It was close.
Yeah.
Like he gave it to him.
So we're both going Burns. Like I said, it's got to be something wild, or else it's not going to matter. And here's the one we've really been waiting for. Pereira versus Adesanya 4. AJ, I'm going to have to start off, give you something here. Most people don't get 4 chances to beat their nemesis. They don't get 4 chances. This isn't One Piece, man. This isn't Luffy versus Kaido. Your man is lucky to have a 4th chance. He is lucky. And that's no disrespect to Israel Adesanya, who is the potentially the best 185 pounder we've ever seen. But he's got Michael Myers chasing him down, and he's got a bad leg. That's how this has felt. The boogeyman is coming.
He's literally the Baba Yaga. Alex Pereira is. He is the
John Wick to Israel Adesanya's life. Tell me why Israel wins, because we know where you're headed. Tell me why he puts the boogeyman to bed this time.
Doug, you have known me for a long time. You know, when it comes to fights, I use my head first most of the time. I'm scared. I'm scared for Izzy. Period. Like, this is actually the first time when I'm generally scared for someone who's one of my favorite fighters ever. He's he's at least in my top 2 like favorite fighters ever. Like, you know, he's actually one of the reasons why I actually got into like kickboxing and stuff. Like, just from like watching him, like, he's like, whoa, one of obviously many reasons and stuff. But he's one of my favorite fighters ever to watch. If you look at all 3 fights, technically, I do feel like Izzy is better than him. But obviously, Pereira closes the gap in terms of skill. It's not as if there's like a huge gap in skill, because if you just look away from Pereira being this crazy KO artist, the way that he like plants traps and just like sets up stuff is really, really crisp and really, really elite. This is easily the biggest fight for Izzy in his life that he'll ever have, like, ever. And I'm terrified for him. Like, I'm like, just for me personally, as a fan, like, I'm terrified for him, because this is a guy who's beaten you 3 times. And the worst thing is, this guy came over into when you were like the champion, like the guy came over and followed you, and you were winning the fight. It was the 5th round, and you still lost. Like,
I do, dude. It's like, the problem is like, every time Izzy's gonna get touched by him, you're gonna get that nervous jolt of energy. Like, because every time he gets touched, it's just because that's how strong and how dangerous
he is.
I could not imagine the investment you have with Izzy and him fighting. He's fighting Michael Myers. Like, it takes one, and that's crazy. It literally takes one. And like, on top of that, I understand Izzy. He does a fantastic job with the mental game and everything, but you cannot tell me if somebody beats you 3 times, it doesn't bother the fuck out of you mentally. Like, it has to.
And it wasn't as if he lost by decision all 3 times.
No.
You got literally laid out the 2nd time, and the 3rd time you were out on your feet. Like, that's,
and he's still saying it was a bad stoppage. They saved him from going to the Shadow Realm.
Oh,
because Pereira was coming back. He was coming back around to do more.
His leg was fucked. Like, he was literally just like a sitting duck. Like, he wasn't going to go anywhere. Like,
that's what I mean. Like, maybe you had some recollection, but you did get saved from potentially more damage. Like, it could have gotten worse for you. And I
definitely.
So,
my only thing is about this fight.
I mean, how does he win?
He just needs to avoid getting rocked, which is insane for me to say.
Don't get touched.
Literally, like, he needs to, one, avoid getting backed up. He needs to avoid getting landed by the big left and getting hurt. And I also feel like he needs to kind of, Izzy kind of has 2 choices here. He can either, do what he did the last time without getting hit, or he can gamble and do what happened in the 1st round, where obviously he rocked him, and he needs to be like, okay, I need to be first. But the only thing with that is it puts you dead set into the fire. Fuck it, Izzy for rank KO. Izzy for rank KO.
I cannot wait for Saturday night. I can't
wait. Well, I'm going to be, this is probably the nervous I'm going to be since since when Darren Till got knocked out by Jorge. Like, that's probably the most nervous I'm going to be.
All right, guys.
Insane.
He's taking Izzy. I respect the hell out of that. You got to rock with your guy. I am taking the boogeyman. Here's the thing. If you lose to a guy 4 times, that guy's better than you all time. It doesn't matter how you ever shake it down. And that's crazy because we know how good Izzy is.
And he's had 8. This is going to be his 8th fight in flipping MMA, and he's going to be he's going to be known as fucking Izzy's dad for life.
Guys, there's so much riding on this fight. It's one of the most important fights in the UFC history. For sure, it is one of the most important fights of this decade going forward. A lot on the line this Saturday night when Pereira fights Israel Adesanya for the belt at 185. AJ, we had a kick-ass show, dude. We had a lot of fun. We laughed a lot.
Oh, definitely, man.
It was good to be back with you, man. Guys, check out our YouTube channel. We're going to get more content out there. We're going to get some more shorts. We're going to get some other videos. Check out the podcast. Hit us up on Twitter. We're going to have our fight predictions put out this weekend. Guys, enjoy the fight card. AJ, I will be talking to you this weekend, man. We'll see you next time.
Peace out, guys.